Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're going to be taking a look at another instructive chess miniature. This is a very nice game with Michael Najdorf, and well, he's just going to be conquering his opponent. Poor opponent. What was this guy's name? Fluxenberg. Interesting name. All right, here we go. We start off with d4, f5, the Dutch defense. Let's see which line that he's going to be playing. The Dutch defense has been championed by a lot of strong players, including Magnus Carlsen himself. Pawn c4, knight f6, knight c3, e6, knight f3, and now we see which one he's choosing, d5. This is the Stonewall Dutch. Definitely one of my favorites whenever I was growing up, and actually one of my favorites of one of my friends growing up too, Adrian. He used to play this against me, and I could not figure it out. Even now, it can be a little difficult. With that being said, I believe anybody above 1900, 2000, they've pretty much figured out the weakness of these games, which basically, if white is able to achieve e4 in these ones, which looks a lot harder than you would think, or controls the e5 square with your pieces, you should just have a very good game. That being said, white did not do that. In fact, they have a simple blunder in this game that, Miguel just takes off and just does a very nice checkmating sequence. So we go ahead and play pawn to e3. For those of you who don't know, taking on d5 is actually a very bad move here for white. Yes, in this game, white should be going for the center. White should definitely be going to attack on the queen side. But when you do this, you actually open up the bishop here. And I've seen some very big horror stories. Is like after this, you go like e3, black goes 94, and they take again, pawn takes, and now you got this beautiful pawn chain pointing toward the king side, and the bishop's opened up all the way. Here already, black is in a very good position, if not just winning on the spot. With that being said, white does play pretty well here. White goes ahead and plays pawn to e3. And we continue with pawn c6. Now this is an important move. If you play bishop d6 a little too soon here, well, now white has the advantage. White to move. What do you play here to get a good position? Simple chess. You just play pawn to c5. Typically, we would want to try to open up on the queen side, but here, after kicking this bishop away, it can't retreat to its c7 square to maintain on this diagonal. Why is this diagonal so important? Well, for one thing, it controls the critical e5 square, which is your weakest square as black. And also, it's attacking the h2 pawn, which is where you're going to be attacking against this king. And this actually happens in the game. But back to the game, black plays c6. Why? You want to play bishop d6, and if c5 gets played, you get to play the bishop to c7. All right, bishop d3, bishop d6, castles. Wait a second. I think I heard someone say, why is playing c5 bad now here? Well, after bishop c7, well, the bishop's already good, and black later on, it can even go queenside and play something like b6 in these kind of positions too. And typically when this happens, well, black just has their eye everywhere. They have kingside, they have the center, and can even go queenside, all because this little pawn right here. All right, back to the game. White goes ahead and castles. Black goes ahead and castles. Knight to e2. Here, just simple moves. Knight to b to d7. And knight g5, all right, there's tactics here because, well, there's an undefended piece. Black to move, a simple tactic here, and you will get into a winning position. Hopefully you found it. Undefended knight, always look for checks, captures, and threats. Bishop takes h2 check, and king h1. That's one way to play it. I mean, if you take, it goes into a bad position, but it's not as bad as what happens in the game. After king takes h2, what do you play? The queen wants to take the knight, but this knight's in the way, so simple chess. Knight g4 check, king to g1, queen takes g5, and yeah, you'll be able to survive this game pretty easily here as white. In fact, computer's only giving this down a pawn, which makes sense. You are only down a pawn. As we see in the game, though, things go far worse after this king to h1 move. All right, what do we do now? Well, we want to bring our pieces over to the king side to attack. You got to stop this attack on the e8, the e6 square, because, well, knight takes e6 can be annoying. So what do? Ignore it. One of the best things you can do whenever you're an attacker, or you want to be a strong chess player, is whenever they make a threat, you attack them back. And here, well, if we get our queen over to the king side, it's going to be game over. So knight to g4 gets played, a very nice move. Not only attacking the knight, but the real threat is for the queen to get to h4. If it gets to h4, the game is pretty much over. I mean, get into the h file in general, the game is pretty much over. All right, let's continue. White plays pawn f4, makes sense. This gives an escape square, although the knight is guarding it. It does make an escape square for the king and also defends the knight. Again, I hear someone asking, What about knight takes e6? Again, if you get this queen over here, it's game over. We're just threatening the simple bishop to g3 check, and well, that's it. Getting greedy, the game ends really faster. Bishop g3 check, king g1, queen h2 checkmate. Can't we play g3 here? No, silly. Even if you do try to play something like g3 here, again, the same thing's going to be happening. Bishop takes on g3 check, king to g2, queen h2 check, king f3, and actually, I'll let you find this one. Can you find the checkmate in 2 here? This is actually a nice move, and actually gets played in the game. Funny enough. Hopefully you found it. Knight d to e5 check. Pawn has to take, and knight takes for a beautiful checkmate. All right, back to the game. Pawn to f4 got played. Let's continue the attack. Remember, if we can get the queen over to the h file, we should just be winning. So what do we play? Let's guard the e6 pawn. Let's get the queen over there. Simple chess, queen to e8, with the idea of going queen h5, winning the game very fast. White sees this and knows they need to get off this h file as the queen is coming there very soon. There's really no good way to control this square. So, pawn g3, a nice idea. We're trying to get our king over to g2, rook over to h1. Wait a second, this bishop is now trapped. Is white now in a better position? Unfortunately not, at least not for white's perspective, right? Black still has so many kingside attacking pieces here, the game ends really fast. Queen h5 here, now threatening bishop takes g3, right? Well, white played king g2 with the idea of rook h1. All right, time for our first beautiful move of the game. Black to move. What do you play here to continue the attack? Again, I encourage you to push pause and start analyzing some different moves. All right, hopefully you found it. What do we play here as black? This is such a crazy idea. What do we do? Well, right now, it's really hard to find anything. I mean, you've got 3 pieces, which they say 3 pieces is a mate, which is a very good saying and something good to remember. Where's the check at? Where's the check at? Well, here, if you can't find the square, it's because there's a piece on it. You really want to put your queen to h2 check here because, well, that's going to be leading to some very nice mates and continue with the attack. So, we got a clearance sacrifice here with the beautiful move bishop to g1. Of course, most ways taking this is going to be losing. And in the game, they took on g1 and they lost very fast. With that being said, computer is giving knight to f3, which makes sense, which is guarding this h2 square. Mind you, they're not out of the woods yet. After bishop takes e3, we're just grabbing more material. We don't even have any pieces trapped here. But again, this is with the computer playing. I mean, what kind of human's going to want to go into this? They're going to try you out, and they're going to play a move like in the game, which was knight takes on g1. So knight takes g1. Let's continue the attack. Queen h2 check. King to f3. What do we do now? Oh my gosh, this game is so beautiful. You're more than welcome to try and figure out this move. If you figure out this move, you are a very creative player. And I would like to play you because, well, who doesn't want to play a strong opponent? Here we go. The move gets played. Pawn to e5. Just like we saw earlier, these knights are trying to jump into the game. Of course, if you take, well, the game's going to get crazy. But again, how could you not take? E4 check is coming up, and, well, this is going to be pretty much game over. All right, the game continues. Pawn takes. Knight takes check. Knight takes check. King f4. This king is now running up the board. We now have an official king hunt. We're just hunting this king down. Where's the next check at? Knight g6 check. King f3. And why not? Let's sacrifice some more pieces here. Pawn to f4. Another clearance sacrifice, as we'll see pretty soon. White has nothing better, really, than to take. And, well, gosh, every move is just going to be a sacrifice here. Bishop g4 check. King takes. And this is the idea with the king over here. Well, we want to take away this escape square. All right. Final puzzle of the game. Black to move and checkmate in 2 moves. Can you spot it? Hopefully you do. Again, we want to checkmate this king, but the king has access to the f3 square, which is their escape square. So, what do? You get rid of it. Here you play the beautiful knight to e5 check. They have to take because, well, the king can't move anywhere. So after pawn takes, now we see the rook is now guarding the f3 square, and hopefully you see this simple checkmate of 1 here. Yes, that's it. Pawn to h5 for check and mate. This is a beautiful game demonstrating the strength of playing this Dutch defense. Remember, against a stronger opponent, you won't be getting many of these opportunities. But that being said, I definitely recommend you to play it. I mean, if Magnus Carlsen can play it in some professional games, not all the time, mind you, but sometimes he'll play it, then we can definitely play these sometimes against selective opponents, if you will. Well, guys, I'll see you in the next game.